Guys and dolls, Freedom Dad here, and it's Friday. So, go and get a cup of tea. If you haven't got a cup of tea, go and make a cup of tea. Hit pause, go and get a cup of tea. Go and get yourself comfortable. Sit down, relax, and enjoy a bit of Freedom Dad. Friday, it's the weekend's near here, and we find out today about Tommy. So let's take our mind off it, because I know a lot of you will be sitting there. Some of my friends are not well right now. I can tell you that, and that's not me talking rubbish or exaggerating. I have friends who are not well because of anxiety, waiting to find out what happens to Tommy Robinson. That's how much this man means to people. Unbelievable. So I know things like that, so that's why I'm so confident about how far Tommy's going to go. But Owen Jones. Bit of a pain in the arse, to be honest with you. But he's one of them characters, like, you can hear him, you know what I mean? But if he was in front of you, you couldn't hear him. You'd probably pet him and try and talk to him, say, listen, son. You know what I mean? I know you think you're doing the right thing, but your head's gone. You know what I mean? You need to look at reality, slap. I'm joking. I do have a wee soft spot for him. I do. I don't know what it is. I just can't hate the guy. I don't know what it is, guys, you know what I mean? And it's annoying. It's one of the ones that really annoyed me because I don't know what it is, you know what I mean? But I try to hate on him. I listen to him speaking and I'm going, oh, one of them ones, it's weird. It's very strange, you know what I mean? But yeah, I haven't had much love for Owen Jones because of his attitude, the way he's been towards Tommy Robinson, the way he is in the left and the way he is. He's been an advocate of the left. He's been an advocate of Labour. Oh, so proud of Labour and always there and always campaigning and, what's this?
This so-called Labour government has provoked outrage and disgust by declaring war on sick people, on disabled people, and rightly so. Yesterday, the Work and Pension Secretary Liz Kendall announced £5 billion worth of cuts in support for disabled people and those with serious illnesses and conditions. In the words of Debbie Abrahams, a Labour MP and chair of the Commons Work and Pensions Committee, this is balancing the books on the backs of sick and disabled people.
Okay, so that's the first clip. I'm going to show you another clip from one night, and do not be laughing at his voice, okay, because he's quite emotional. This is a man who's invested an awful lot in Labour. He's been there. He's been there, you know what I mean, all the way, you know what I mean, supporting all the front benchers. He's interviewed them all, like, I'll bring one of them as well. But his voice does go a wee bit squeaky here because I think he's just a bit upset. You can check this bit out. Tell me what you think.
Keir Starmer's government has exposed itself for what it is. This is supposed to be the Labour Party, a Labour government. Let's just quickly go through who their big targets have been so far. They've gone for pensioners by attacking the winter fuel payment. They've gone for children by voting to keep the Tories' two-child benefit cap, which drives so many kids into poverty, many of them in working households as it happens. And now they're going for disabled people. So we have a government which robs pensioners, robs children, and which is now determined to rob disabled people and those with serious health conditions. It's like they're going through a list of society's most vulnerable people and thinking, how can we make their lives that little bit harder? What's next? Let's hope they don't start leafing through the Old Testament and settle on, I don't know, killing the firstborn. Best not to give them ideas.
So he's a nice enough guy. He is a nice enough guy. His heart's in the right place. I don't understand the high panders to one particular community. I don't get that, but I do believe it's fear. Honestly, like Angela, I think that's pure fear. And, he does look out for kids and that, like, you know what I mean? People would have their own opinions and all that, you know what I mean? But me personally, anybody that's an advocate of children and fighting for children and stuff like that, they can't do much wrong in my book. But, it doesn't forgive him for how he's behaved, you know what I mean? There's no two ways about it. He has let the country down big time, you know what I mean? And he's still letting the country down. I'll show you this clip, just to give you an idea of how he can never just shut up. You know what I mean? He's always got to get stuff in there,
Well, as she says, this is a Labour government, and it is imposing policies which will drive its most vulnerable citizens into poverty. Indeed, this will drive yet more children into poverty. And that isn't just cruel, by the way, it's social vandalism all of us pay for, because children who grow up in poverty are less likely to fulfill their potential. And the whole of society then pays for that lost potential for generations. Now, Wes Streeting, the uber right-wing health secretary, who was very nearly defeated by the 23-year-old British Palestinian prodigy Liam Mohammed, just a few hundred votes, hideously close. Next time, though.
So, as you can see, he's an advocate for children. But one of my problems with him is he's very silent about the children who's been involved with the grooming gangs. It's like, where were you, Owen? Why didn't you come out and say something about our children? In Rotherham and up and down the birth of the country. Why haven't you been bringing it up around your friends and asking what is going on? So yeah, he's an advocate for children and he professes to be some sort of angel brought down by God, you know what I mean? Well, he doesn't really, he's not Christian or nothing like that. I don't know where that came from, you know what I mean? But he comes across like he's a really do-gooder and I'm here for the children and all that. Yeah. So, as you can see, there's a shift. There's a shift, so there is, guys. And this is what I'm trying to say, These are the men and women who are going to be voting for Nigel Farage. These are the men and women who are going to be voting for reform. You can bet your bottom dollar on it. These people aren't going to be voting for UKIP. Labour's finished. You can see that. Labour's finished. I keep telling you that Labour won't be in the running. And this is the point I'm trying to make to everybody. Who else are they going to vote for? They're not going to vote for like a Muslim politicians, like a Muslim political party, unless they know it's got a chance of winning. Then they would, So the most important thing is defeating the right for people like Owen. You know what I mean? Because he will be getting worried because all the things he said, it's there. It's there. It's not going to go away. People are going to remind him as we go forward the way he's behaved towards British men that's been fighting for our children, the language that he used, But here's a clip with him, with Angela Rayner, and it's quite interesting. We maybe start to understand a wee bit why Angela Rayner hates us all so much. Make your own conclusions.
I became a plastic northerner, kind of lived in this ballpark, and the reason I'm here is to see Angela Rayner. She's become one of the stars of the Labour front bench. She's Shadow Education Secretary. What drives her as an MP? What do you think about the election, and where now for Labour? So technically, we're from the neighbouring street, kind of.
We are, yeah, but you were from the bit of the posh bit, though.
Tell us about your background a little bit.
Well, I was born on Bridgehall Estate, which is a council housing estate, and my mum and dad were on benefits. My mum couldn't read or write, and my mum has bipolar, so I was her carer from being about the age of 10. Even from poor kids, I felt like I was a poor kid, and I was a ginger kid on the council estate, which means you get bullied anyway.
So, Owen Jones, Angela Rayner, so a lot of information there, like, in that wee clip, sort of understand, because I like to try and work out the psychology, guys, and, it's just my opinion. It's the opinions of a guy who's been through children's homes and seen a lot of bad stuff in his life, you know what I mean, and managed to get through it pretty much no too bad, and for entertainment and educational purposes only, guys, you know what I mean, but you've got to look at it like this, okay, ginger kid, getting bullied, no wonder she hates us. No wonder she hates us all. You know what I mean? It doesn't sound happy. Brought up in the council estate, my family had bipolar, it was called ginger. It's all hate. This is why I hate everybody. I'm going to get you all back. Every one of you right-wingers, I'm going to make sure you never forget me. You know what I mean? Calling me the gingerbread girl. I dare yous. So I can understand a wee bit, of where the psychology of it all, why are these people doing this to our country? Why? Because you must ask that question yourselves, guys. Why would they do this to our children? Why? They know it's only the working class kids that's suffering. Maybe that's one of your answers right there, guys, And I've always said it will be right back. It will be something deep down, something to do with family, their parents, I've always said that. what makes these people drive. You know, you don't just wake up and do everything against the people of your own nation, you know, and then pander to another community the way she has. You don't do that just, you know, who would do that? You love your country, you love your children, you love your fellow countrymen. Would you ever think about behaving like that? Of course not. This is why we're all aghast. We're all aghast because of it. But Labour. Starmer, the hero of Europe, the hero of Europe.
There is a real possibility that the governments in Western Europe are overthrown, that these globalists are sent packing.
Right.
And you get new governments, new regimes, and they say, that's enough. We've had enough. We want an end to this. I think that's in the offing in Germany. It hasn't happened yet, but I think it's coming. It's well underway in France, certainly underway in Great Britain to some extent, although it looks like they are very much in the uniparty mode. So they're going to have to expel the uniparty from power in London.
Right.
God bless them. I wish them the best.
Right.
What we're going to do is get an education regarding what the armed forces are going to do, because ultimately, the French army has always existed to defend the French state, but it has not hesitated to intervene when it thought that the French people and the French nation were in jeopardy or being betrayed. The question is, what happens in Great Britain? Again, all of these people have been systematically disarmed. You know, it's why when I talk to various audiences, I point out the Second Amendment, which grants us the right to bear arms, is ultimately the foundation for all the Bill of Rights.
Right.
All the other amendments depend upon it. We're armed, thank God. The lesson from looking at Europe right now is that nobody's armed over there, and they are at the mercy of these governments and their armed forces and police. You know, the police, again, what kind of organizations are they? How much do they care about the people that they're supposed to police? I saw an excerpt from a short comment made by a policeman in Britain, I think somewhere in England, who was saying that they wanted to prosecute Americans who were exchanging emails with people in England on the topic of what is happening and theoretically encouraging the English to fight back against this globalist movement in England. Well, he thinks they should be in jail too. I mean, very shortly, unless people organize and demand it, we're at risk of nobody having a Republican style government anymore in the West. I mean, your notion of free speech will be completely gone, and when that goes, we've had it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's wild, and I think
maybe 7 months ago I would have been pretty angry at that. Now I totally understand it. I totally get it. You know, and this is the facts of life of Great Britain. You know, this is the common thread going around the rest of the world right now. This is what Starmer's done to us. You know, I don't know what to say, guys. It is absolutely shocking. Absolutely shocking. You know, everything is upside down. It's not just us. It's not just what's going on with Tommy. It's not just how we're feeling like second-class citizens, bottom of the tier, how we're worrying about our children. It's not just about that. Everything is upside down. Who would ever have thought we'd see a day when we'd have relations like this with America over a country like Ukraine, over a man like Zelensky? You know, we know they're being ridiculed all around the world, up and down the breadth of Britain. We know they got in with a minority, the lowest minority ever. We know 80% of the country never voted for them. We know that, you know, there's an awakening in Britain of patriots, you know, and we know that the establishment are using reform to try and pull the wool over patriots' eyes and get us to go with them when we know it, all they are is the new Labour. And this is what, you know, this is exactly the place that Nigel Farage and Reform will take. They will take the place of Labour and do the bidding. Because we know that what's been going on in Europe with Ukraine has been somebody else getting all these leaders and trying to create a war. You know, and it is to do with what Paul was saying on the live the other day with the digital banking and everything, and, you know, digital IDs and 15-minute cities, and, you know, it's to create a situation in the world where they can do whatever they want. You know, they can do whatever they want, and we're too busy fighting amongst ourselves and too busy worrying about the future of our children. And you know, this is the situation that I truly believe we're in. I do truly believe that, there's a couple of situations I think it's going on together. I think there's been a deal done with some countries around the world for this country to be used, England especially. And they're going to try and push up into Scotland and Wales, obviously. Well, Wales is with England. Wales is as doomed as England is, I imagine. And there's been some sort of deal done with Tony Blair for this to be some sort of overflow for Europe, and they know exactly what they're doing and it's going to plan. And I also think as well, they hope to create some sort of civil disruption, civil war, to create something on the streets where they need to bring in laws, like digital IDs and, 15-minute cities so people can't leave their areas. Your phone won't work, you won't be able to use your credit cards or anything like that. You wouldn't be able to get fuel for your car, nothing like that. And, on top of that, the war in Ukraine was being used to push it across Europe. It's trying to start in Ireland and England, Britain, and then push it out across Europe. And we see unrest in many cities around Europe right now. We see millions of people coming out in streets. I think it's in Serbia. I might be wrong, but we're seeing things that are quite remarkable right now up and down Europe. And this is what you've got to remember, guys. This is what you've got to remember. There's millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of people like us all around Europe. We aren't on our own. We aren't like a minority. I promise you, we are a majority. And you don't need to look much further, okay, than Scotland to know that you're not on your own. So I'm going to bring you this clip. This will be the last clip I bring, and this has just came out on TikTok.
Police frickin' Scotland. Don't worry, I'll tag you in it. So anybody from Glasgow knows that there's been a lot of grapes and actual things happening to women in the city, people getting followed, and they've only managed to catch one person. Well, here in Cowcaddens, where the girl was severely raped last week, there was a meeting in your tenants' hall with all the tenants who've been worried about safety, and the Police Scotland officers have told everybody, oh, it didn't happen there. It fucking did. I'm getting sick of it all being covered up here. It's absolutely rife. We're all having to tool up just to go out with a fucking dog. I spoke to a woman at the female unit that was down there after it happened, and I know that it's a gang that's going about Glasgow because she told me. Now, I also know that the reason that you're not giving out descriptions and you're trying to play it down is because they're foreigners. And I can be called racist all you like for that, because I know I'm not. It's a fact. It was only the other night that I was fucking followed by one and they'd the car behind to fucking try and get us. Police Scotland, you should be ashamed. You should be allowing us to keep ourselves safe. Descriptions need to go out. I'm so angry. How dare you try and gaslight us? How dare you? The guy that followed me was early 20s, Middle Eastern, cleanly all groomed, his beard and moustache, hood up, thin bubble jacket on, brand new pair of Nike Air Max that were white. He wasn't. Bring on the hate for that, because I actually don't give two flying dipshits. Or am I going to be the next person in jail for speaking their mind? In fact, I'm not speaking my mind, I'm speaking facts. Police Scotland, facts. I bet you're in the house telling your lasses and your wives to fucking make sure they're safe. The system's all fucking wrong. It protects the nonces and the fucking pedalos, the illegals. I'm going to go now. Stay safe, girls. Stay safe.
So, yeah, it's, the Glasgow accent does make you smile sometimes, but, it's quite serious. It's quite serious, guys, so, not really a lot to smile about, to be honest with you, and, but, that's basically it. Just wanted to bring that wee video to you, just to explain to you about how people from the left are turning away from Labour, and you've got to ask yourself, where are they going to go? Where are they going to go, guys? And this is all happening for a reason. Reform going centrist. That's what, because they can't tell us they're going to go left. They can't tell us where we're just going to be like Labour. in 4 years' time, if we get in, you're going to see that we're just going to be like Labour, and that everybody was voting for Labour and I voting for Reform. They can't tell you that. They've got to say, oh, we're going to go centrist. You know what I mean? But you can't go centrist in Britain. This is the point I'm trying to make. The Tories were meant to be centrist, and look at what they did. You know, you can't go centrist. It's just impossible. In the political world that we are, the way it's all set up and the way they've let all these different communities have so much power and say in our government, that you just can't go centrist. You know, you need to be right. Simple as that. To get anything done in this country that needs to be done to save our children, you need to be right. And it's as simple as that. You know, there is no centre anymore. No, I'm not going to say, oh, the centre's just like, there is no centre. It's right and left, guys. You know, it's down to immigration. You know what I mean? Basically, everything else will fall into place once we get immigration right, because that's where all our money's going. You get me? That's like everything, crime, paying people, helping people, benefits. You could go on and on and on. There's a long list of translators, mobile phones. Oh, you know the rest, guys. You know the rest. Like, if you were to sit down and write them all down, I just can't do it, because it's just too much. It's too much. You know, when you're sitting there looking at all of everything that we're giving out, it's just too much to bear. It really is, like. And it breaks my heart, because it's money that could be getting spent on our children. It could be going to all the victims of the grooming gangs. It could be, because even ones 15, 20 years ago will still be suffering today. This is the point I always try to get across. You know, in my videos, one of the issues that I have, and one of the bullet points that I keep pushing, it's always there, coming in and out of my videos. You'll always see it. The victims, they don't just suffer when they're young. You know, they suffer most when they're older, going through life, and they need looked after. You know, they need to be recognised as victims all the way through their life, and there should be no expense spared, just like there should be no expense spared on children like me. Instead of putting children like me in prison, spend money on them. They spent millions and millions and millions on me. Guys, if you were to sit down and see how much the government have spent on me, it's ridiculous. You know, prison, lawyers, it's out there. It really is out there. And, you know, God knows how much compensation and all the rest of it they've had to pay it because of me. You know, so, you know, like I say, we've all got a footprint. We've all got a footprint, you know. And, you know, at the end of the day, the government created me. The government made me their problem. I didn't need to be a problem. I was a good boy. I was a good lad. You know, they could have spent a bit of time and money and effort on me. You know what I mean? But they didn't. Every time I done something wrong, they pinned me down. And when I was too young to go to prison, and then they made a prison just for kids like me. One of the only kids that wasn't in for breaking the law, and everything just went downhill from there. So kids like me will always end up with kids from other problem families anyway. You know what I mean? I was just an orphan because my mum died, and my dad didn't want fuck all to do with me. That was it. It wasn't like I came from a problem family where my mum was an alcoholic or a drug user or any sort of problem to society. My mum was a Christian, you know, God-fearing. You know, Jim Reeves was her favourite, and Elvis Presley. She was just a really kind-hearted soul, and she brought me up to be that kind of person, you know. And this is the problem. The whole way through life, any trauma you deal with as a young child, and there's nothing worse than grooming, because when you're so vulnerable, this is the point I always get across as well, when you are so vulnerable, when you're reaching out for help, when you're looking for someone to love or care or give you attention, and somebody comes along and gives you all that, and then you see the hidden agenda, that moment, that recognition of what's truly going on, when you go from so much happiness and joy and thinking that you found somebody that really cares and loves you, to doom, gloom, horror, terrifying horror of what you've just got yourself into, and no way out of it. And then when you go to ask for help, nobody listens to you. Social workers don't want to know. Police officers are driving away and leaving you in the hands of these men. It's horrific. Horrific, guys, on another level. You do not know what it must be like for those children to be adults today. Believe me, that's where our money should be going. That's where our money should be going. Not to Ukraine, not to mosques to protect them from nothing, not to Syria, So, guys, sorry, I'm going to get a cup of tea. Wee bit emotional there, it does affect me when I take myself into the psychology of what it's like for a child. I'm going to go because I can't do it. Have a good day. We'll come live today. I'm going to be paying attention, obviously, find out what's, hopefully around about after 10, there should be something coming out from Tommy's team. And then we'll address it this afternoon or the night. Okay, it just depends what way baby goes and what way the day goes. I haven't got much on the day. I'm just going to see what other people around me have got on and fit my day around them. Okay, guys, so hope you like my video. All my love, and God bless every single one of you.